my gosh. As per usual, I feel like you are full glam, and I'm like, did I just get out of the shower? Maybe.
I actually am like never in glam, so I was like, well, I guess I should get ready today.
Which, like, I think it's worth telling people, like, where you and I started was in like premium beauty together. So, like, we know what it takes to be full glam, and I feel like we're never there. Like, I have eyeliner, and this lip gloss is actually a Sabella lip gloss, and this is my favorite because it
Okay.
looks like super high end. It's like copper. I forgot. It was like copper something or other. And it was
There you
like one of
go.
the old school ones. I'm like, I love it. But yeah, like a little liquid eyeliner and mascara and a lip gloss goes a long way. And like that's a window. That's what's causing this like cute highlight.
Oh,
That's
yes, I know. I was like, okay, gotta sit like literally right in front of the window. And my husband just took down our desk. So I'm like just in this corner. We're moving on Monday. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like put this on the dresser and just sit in front of a window and call it good.
I am here for it. Well, like I'm like on a recording like like table. I don't know. Over here is like all the recording stuff. If I move this way, you get to see like all of our lights. And if
Yeah,
I move it, and so I'm always like, oh, where's? But then I have this like little halo situation. It's
there you go.
fine. You're
Yeah.
doing great. Like this
It's
is
just
the
your
dream.
angel is coming through.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I honestly though, I think that's what I love about your content the most. I use you all the time as an example of people who are like, you just need to make content as you go. It does not have to be like overproduced. You do not need to be spending, $5,000 a month on like a video package with a bunch of editors. Like,
Literally, this little guy right here, like $7 on Amazon. This is what I
yes,
use the most. I
how do
like
you,
have tons of different equipment. I have lighting. I have all the things. I
Mhm.
never pull it out because I'm like, if I waited till I got the lighting and everything done, it's just not gonna happen.
No,
It just won't. And
you would
like
never do it.
I only get 2 minutes where my kids are not like screaming or if it's like I have like 1 second. That's why I can't do ASMR. It's like there's never that's never gonna happen at my house.
Well, but like, and here's the like bombshells. Like, you have 200,000 Instagram followers using that one little stand. So like, you guys, it's
It doesn't.
Holland says this all the time. Like, it's not hard. Like, you just have to like do it. You know?
Yeah, you have to do
Yeah.
it. I know between TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, I'm almost at 300,000 followers, and I use this
Good
and
job.
very basic things. I mean, I'm not using anything high tech. I literally edit in Instagram.
Cool.
Like you don't have to have all the software and all the apps and all the things. Like I'm doing this as low budget as possible because I want to keep all the money for
Yeah.
myself. I don't want to be using it to buy all these little things that people don't even care about. They
Yeah.
don't care about the overproduced things.
Oh yeah, I see YouTube videos all the time where people are like, "You need this laptop stand, this thing, whatever." I have, and I'm going to show you this. You're going to die. My laptop is sitting on top of a pie box from Good Company
Hey,
Barbecue. Do you know what I mean? It's just like
it works.
it's the perfect height, and I'm using the camera and mic on my laptop. I'm like, this is an HP Envy from a long, long time ago. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah,
here.
I don't have the Mac. I don't have all the cool things. I'm like, it still works. You can still do it.
Perfect. Well, let's back up. How did you get started in this? Like, how did
Okay.
you and I go from premium beauty to this live?
Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning.
Okay, so I have a degree in marketing. That's what I went to school for. And then we met at Luca. Are we allowed to even say that? I think so. You can say you're
Sure.
working
We
on.
met
Yeah.
at what do I usually say? A $3 billion CPG company sold in 18 countries based in Idaho Falls. And people
There
are
you go.
like, what? I'm like, I know. It's a
Yeah.
shock to me too.
So that's where we met. I did brand management for a while. I was assistant brand manager there. And I did that for like 3 years. And then for a couple more years after that, I did some contract work for them. And then I went on to just do stay-at-home mom life. And at the time, I just had my second in December, and I started my business in April of 2022. So I started making sourdough back in 2019, right before it like exploded with the pandemic and everything, and
You were there
everyone was
before
like,
it was
"Yeah,
cool.
let's make sourdough."
I'm
Yeah.
not surprised. You were such a trendsetter. So carry
Oh
on.
yeah, such a trend. But so I started doing it then. So it's funny because I actually threw away my first sourdough starter. I had like started, I was like, no, this is like absolutely not for me. I was like, this is way too much work. There's like, I don't need a second child to keep alive. Like I already had one baby and I was like, oh gosh. So I just was like, this is not for me. I never even made bread. Like it was not my thing.
Sure.
So it's funny
Great.
now that I am teaching like 300,000 people to make bread.
Basically,
It's
yeah,
like,
you're like
wait,
thus.
what?
I shared this on Instagram today, and one of my friends was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing this. I'm so scared to start, and so like I think I'm just gonna go buy this class." I was like, "Great, I've got Emily a customer. This is fantastic.
Sweet.
You're welcome."
Yeah, so I decided, okay, I'm gonna just toss it. I'm done with this. And then a few months later, I decided to give it one more shot. And this time, I just kind of like went by my own rules. So instead of,
Mm.
I felt like out there, the information I was seeing out there was very like, you have to follow 600 steps, right? You have to feed your starter every single day. You have to do all these things. And for me, it was just like, I am never going to be that person. I've always been somebody that's a little bit like, I've never baked and cooked really with strict recipes. I'm just kind of like, do this, do that, whatever, da 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 da. It all works out. So, fast forward a while, I'd started just teaching. My husband was in med school. And so I started just teaching some of the other wives that we'd become friends through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started teaching them. And they're like, hey, you should start teaching classes. And I was like, oh, that's really scary.
Yeah,
And I
sure.
don't know.
Like, am I an
So,
expert? I don't know. Like, yeah.
yeah. So then a little bit longer went by. I taught a second class like a year later when new midwives moved in. And then I was like, you know what? It was right after I'd stopped doing my contract work in marketing. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. Like, I just want something for me. I just wasn't enjoying fully being stay-at-home mom without having something for me. Like
Sure.
I needed that side passion that I was like something I was really passionate about. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do this and see what happens. So I just made a flyer with some stock photos and I put it on my Facebook page and I put it on, like I found a mom's group in my area that I put it on their Facebook page and like a couple other Facebook pages. And I was like, you know what? Well, we'll just see what happens. And within the hour, I was like, I'm going to throw up. I can't do this. Like,
Oh
I'm like, I'm so scared. Nobody's going to do this. I'm going to look like such a loser that I am starting this business and nobody thinks, you know,
no.
everyone's like, you're so
Emily.
lame.
No, I just want to give you a hug.
I don't feel that way anymore. But
I was
when
like,
I
I'm gonna
first,
give
you
you a
know,
reverse pep talk. Is that what
it's very nerve wracking to put yourself out there. And it just takes a lot to be like, okay, I'm just going to put this out to the world and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I did, and it sold out. I did a class there and I did a class in Ohio where I'm originally from, and they both sold out within a day. So I was like,
Awesome.
oh, okay, like maybe
That's
there's
fun.
something to this. And so from there, I did my first classes, and I was like, you know what? I think people are wanting this. And I really, like I had said earlier, I just felt like there's a lot of people with like really strict rules out there, or there was people that were like, there's no rules, just do whatever you want. And I didn't really feel like there was a happy medium in there. It's like, no, there are some rules and they make sense why you do these things,
Yeah.
but you don't have to be extreme about it. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to get on Instagram and see what happens. Like Instagram has always kind of been like my passion. I love social media. And so I did a lot of social media.
Yeah, you
While
taught
I
me how to
was
use Instagram. Like,
before we met. Yeah.
people are like, wait, someone taught you? You didn't just come out of the womb knowing how to use Instagram? I'm like, no, her name's Emily Christensen. She makes bread. She's doing great.
Yeah, so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna start posting on Instagram. And for the first few months, I had like, I don't know, a couple hundred followers. Maybe it was like my mom and her friends and,
Sure.
you know, some of my friends that were trying to be supportive. And my videos at the beginning were horrible. I've come a long way since then. But, you know, I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to put it out there
Mm-hmm.
and see what happens. And then I started getting better the more I posted. So that is my number one piece of advice is just do it. And you're going to learn as you go. You don't have to know everything to get started. You just go and do and see what happens. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I did. I just got out there, I started doing it, and the more I did it, the better I got. And then eventually, it was probably, I don't know, I think in June 2023, so almost a year
Mm-hmm.
of sporadic posting. I was never really consistent. I was just like here or there, whatever. I wasn't really doing it to really succeed. But in the spring of last year, I decided like, I really want to see where this business can go.
Okay.
So let's do it. So I started posting more consistently. I started posting more content, and I started getting a few viral posts out there. And when that happened, I went from like, I don't even remember how many followers I had, like between 300 and 600, something pretty minimal,
Yeah.
to now I have 207,000. And that my first viral post, I think, was either in May or June of last year. So I went from like 600 followers to now we're at almost 300,000 between all of the platforms. So in about a year, I was able to grow that much. And it was just because I just put myself out there and just decided, like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. And consistency is the key. That's why I tell people, like, you guys, 50% of every algorithm is consistency. Like, they know when their users show up and they want to pull the first 15 minutes of your experience from the people that you love the most. And if your content's not there, that's going to stop pulling from you. So, like, whatever it takes, like, if when you want to get serious about it, you have to be consistent. Doesn't matter what the consistency is, you just have to be there. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have to post every single day. I mean, I don't post every single day. I go through some times where I'm like trying to grow, so I really push myself to post daily. Sure. But oftentimes I'm, 3 to 4 times a week, and that's good. As long as you've picked, you have to commit to yourself. That's something that's really important when you start a business, is like treating it like a business. So 100%. If you want a hobby, it's going to be a hobby, and that's going to be it. But if you want it to be a business, you need to treat it like a business. You need to invest in your business. You need to work at your business. And so you gotta put in the work in order to do it. It's not, I think people sometimes think, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, sometimes people think like influencers or people on social media, like it's an easy gig. But I'm here to tell you, it is not easy. Wow. When I first started, I was like, I want to do something just for me, just something like part-time-ish, If you're starting a business thinking you're going to be part-time, I work more hours probably than I ever have, but it's something that I'm passionate about. So it doesn't feel so much like work. And it's also, number 2, is it's flexible. So like, if I want to go to the park with my kids, I can do that. But then when I get home, I need to make sure I'm setting aside time. So it's not like a traditional 9 to 5, where I'm like clocking in and out. I'm pretty much always clocked in. I'm always thinking about something. But I can do it on my own terms. And like, for instance, we're moving this week. So it's like, a lot of stuff going on the back burner. And that's okay too. It's like, it's my business and I have full control over it.
And it's like, it's even more rewarding because it's for you. Like, that's what I tell people. Like, we did some math the other day because Holland and I were teaching like a workshop of podcasters in Houston, like how to get more ahead in your production calendar, because we're 6 months ahead in recording episodes, which is like a little uncanny. But she like did, she did the math and she's like, we do what we do, which is 52 episodes in a year in 16 days. Because we only meet every other Saturday and we refuse to record during Q4 because we're like, it's already a hot mess of like holidays, kid things, school things, travel, whatever. And like, no, it's a lot for those 16 days, but it totally pays off. But it is 8 to 5. And sometimes it's 8 to 10. And we got one coming up this weekend where we're trying to see if we can test. So we've been meeting every other Saturday. We're trying to see if we can do one weekend a month because our lives have just gotten more complex. When we're getting this whole go-to-market strategy up and running, it takes more weekend time. It takes more like admin time. It takes more just lift from us. We're like, let's see if we can get that recording together. But that means a Saturday and Sunday back to back. So it's like 2 10-hour days back to back. And like, I challenge anyone to work that hard and that concentrated and that focused in their day job. Like I don't think it's possible. I don't think people in an office actually work that hard for 10 hours straight. But like, man, it's crazy. Like, but it's I like it. It's better for me.
It's rewarding. It's rewarding. If you're passionate about something, I don't want to say it never feels like work, because I don't. Those people that say that, I'm like, it's still work, but it's work that you enjoy doing. And when I'm working on my own brand, I'm so passionate about it, and like, I want it to succeed so bad that I'm willing to put in those hours to see it succeed.
Totally. So what is it like? Let's talk about that. It's not just posting on Instagram. What does it take? There's some clouds, so now my natural lighting has gone away. It's fine. What does it really take? Like, what else are you doing behind the scenes? Like you and I have been in the go-to-market brand strategy for a long time. So what that means to us is like, there's some traditional media, there's a magazine, there's a website, there's a billboard, there's an email list, there's a whatever. So what does that look like for you now?
Yeah, so when I first started, I was just so focused on Instagram. It was honestly dumb. Like, it was dumb. I was like, I'm just going to focus on Instagram. Nothing else in the world matters besides my Instagram, because I'm like, once I hit this number, once I hit 100,000 or whatever, like, I'm going to make that much money. It was just silly, you know? It's
It's like
like,
dollar per user, and you're like,
yeah,
that
I'm
1,000
like,
followers is not actually a
the people
formula.
that have that many followers, they must be making like crazy amounts of money, right? And you
Mhm.
can make crazy amounts of money, but you can't just post on Instagram and be like, yep, I mean, Instagram's not paying you. Sometimes they have bonuses for things, but
Sure.
it's not where the real money is going to be. So it's like, I mean, you're not making crazy money just because you have 100,000 followers. It's what you're doing with those followers is how you're going to make your money. So it's, I really was like, okay, I need to diversify. That was the biggest thing. How
Mhm.
am I diversifying so I can have multiple income streams
Mm.
from this?
Yeah.
I have this follower base. What am I doing with it?
Yeah.
So some of the things that I do on a daily basis, I recently just hired an assistant. She's helping me push out some blog posts because I'm trying to, and that I feel like, oh man, it was
It's
really
a
hard
lot.
for me to hire somebody because I was like, oh, then I have to pay somebody, you know.
Yeah.
But it's been so worth it to me to have those extra hours back to focus more on like the strategy versus like the
Good.
mundane things.
Yeah, perfect.
But a lot of my day to day looks like getting my social calendar together. So, what am I posting on all of my platforms?
Mhm.
It also going through my email list. So, I send at least 2 emails a week usually.
Great.
So, doing my email list, I have my website and my blog. So, I've been working on getting that monetized, and that's going to be happening within the next few weeks, which is exciting.
Yay.
So yeah, so working on my blog, and then it's like keeping that community as well. So
Mhm.
talking with my followers on there, helping to build that trust with them, because the more trust you build with them, the stronger the community is, the
Yeah.
more money they're willing to put out there, you
That's
know?
right. I can buy bread from
So
the supermarket. Why should I buy it from you? Right? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So talking to them, there's just all the different things. Pinterest, I've been working a lot on trying to get traffic to my website. I want to start getting my YouTube going. There's just
Yeah.
a lot of different avenues that you can go. So just really trying to also focus too. Like sometimes I can get very scatterbrained on like, I want to do these 500 things. It's like, okay, I can't do everything at once. So I need to like narrow in what's the most bang for my buck,
Mhm.
where am I going to invest my time? So doing those things to kind of help me to grow.
Yeah, perfect. That's like this is something that like I sat Holland down at the end of Thanksgiving, well, actually Thanksgiving break. We had Thanksgiving with our families on Thursday, and then Friday we like holed ourselves up in the Marriott downtown and just like had an offsite, like a traditional Patrick Jones style, like marketing communications offsite spreadsheet and everything. And at the top, I was like, here's our products for the year. Like here's every episode, here's our merch, here's our like where the launches are going, whatever, whatever. And then after that, it was like every channel we could possibly be in priority order of like, okay, what are the revenue drivers? Like, if our revenue is tight, like if you're going to pay me in time or attention, how am I capturing that? If I, or attention or money, right? Like, if I'm going to capture your attention, where am I capturing it that I can own, right? Like, if I'm going to capture your money, where can I capture it that I can own? And that's been the thing is like to help prioritize that. Yeah, there's people exist everywhere and they all want a piece of you, but like, where are the ones that are going to give you the most bang for your buck and that you can like convert them quickly to say like, oh, now I own you, I have your email address, I have
Mm-hmm.
your undivided attention and loyalty, right? Like where do those things exist? And that's been a game changer, frankly, just to be like, okay,
Yeah.
let's put it all in one sheet and then prioritize it and say, okay, these are the places we're spending 70% of our time, you know?
Yeah. And that's like so when I first started on TikTok, I started growing my TikTok, and I think I'm at like 82,000 followers now.
Nice.
But I've kind of stopped investing as much time in TikTok because I haven't seen the return as much on TikTok
Mm.
that I have seen on Instagram, because Instagram has some additional tools that I can't do on TikTok. So for instance, I use ManyChat. I don't know if you've ever heard of ManyChat
No.
on Instagram. So it's basically a DM automation. So if somebody comments something like recipe,
Mhm.
then it will automatically DM them the link to the recipe.
That's
So I
awesome.
can do that with products too. So I am like an Amazon affiliate. So if
Mhm.
I do a post about an Amazon product I love,
Mhm.
what do you think is going to do better? Something where the link automatically goes to them in their inbox, or the thing on TikTok where it's like, and go to the link in my bio, click on that, then click on no,
No.
nobody's, people aren't doing that.
No.
So for me, it's like TikTok really hasn't. Now you can get into TikTok Shop. I just haven't found TikTok Shop as, I feel like there's a lot of crap product on there, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, why am I spending a ton of time? I'm going to still post on TikTok. I don't want to lose those 82,000
Sure.
followers. But for me, it's like, that's not where I'm going to spend the majority of my time. I'm not going to focus on creating my content for TikTok. I'm going to focus on creating my content for Instagram, because that's where I'm seeing the
Mhm.
return on investment there.
That's so fascinating. Well, and that's what I tell people when they try to say like, "Oh, I'm just going to post the same content across all platforms." I'm like, they're different. Like, there are
Mhm.
multiple times at Melaleuca we posted the same thing because that's what the brand wanted to do. The same thing on Instagram and Facebook, and it got wildly different reactions. Like, and I'm talking like not even just like no engagement versus engagement. It was like on Facebook, it was negatively received. Like the number of negative comments that existed were like 6 to 1. You know what I mean? And then on Instagram, they absolutely loved it because even though it's sometimes the same people across these platforms, it's just a different, like, I don't know, consumer expectation, different like attitude, different style.
You have
Yeah,
different follower bases too on
totally.
there.
Totally. So like,
They have different demographics and
yeah.
interests. Yeah.
So you really have to like pay attention to like, what is this channel? Is my audience there? What are the other like features of this channel that are helping me own that audience again, making them mine, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I don't know, like this is where like LinkedIn Live comes in for us. Is this is an experimental channel for us right now because LinkedIn is pushing LinkedIn Live as like a thing they want us to pay attention to. So I'm dedicating maybe 1% of my time and energy to it in a week, which is just like, yeah, talk to cool people. I have invested exactly $80 in like hardwired internet, and like so I can stream in 1080. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, let's see what happens. Let's see who's out there. Let's see who's engaging in it. And at the same time, Holland's running an experiment on the other side, which is LinkedIn is also promoting their LinkedIn newsletters. So she's publishing that once a week, and all she's doing is taking our email and adjusting it slightly for a LinkedIn like newsletter audience because it requires a little bit different language, and then putting it out there weekly. And we're giving it a year and then seeing what it's doing. Like, is this
And
working for us or not?
that's key. You have to give it time. Like if I would
Yeah.
have just given up on my Instagram when it wasn't doing anything at the
Mm,
beginning, I wouldn't have got to where I am right now.
totally.
You have to keep going. Like just you can't expect to go viral within like a week of starting. Some people do, and that's
Yeah.
awesome for them. But honestly, the more you post, the better you're going to get, the more learning,
Hmm.
you're
Hmm.
going to get out of it, and it'll help you to get better. So that way when you do skyrocket,
Yeah.
you know what you're doing.
Yeah, as your time restricts, right? As your life gets more complicated, you're like, actually, where I need to be spending, the 80% of the 80/20 rule, right? 80% of my revenue is driven by 20% of my content. So like, let's do more of that. Like, I think it's what I love the most about like when you were training me to report on organic social media, right? We had this like, okay, here's all your numbers. Here's what are your top performers, your bottom performers. Do you know why? Do you know what else was driving that? Like, is this because we had a particularly good sale? Is this because it was like a really popular product that we brought back for the first time? Is this because of strictly your efforts? Like, it was never that. The TLDR is, it was never that. There was always something else driving it. And I think that's the thing. Like, most people who are approaching, you know, organic social media for small business are saying, "Oh, I only need to be posting." I'm like, no, you need a whole system. You need to understand like this. The buzzword is omni-channel approach. It's like there's multiple things going here at once, and you need to make sure you understand how the systems work together, and then you know where to put pressure to drive, the KPIs you want to drive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and looking at your analytics is so important. I mean, you need to understand, like like we talked about, like, why are some of these
Yeah.
things not performing well? Why are some of the things performing well? Maybe your audience just doesn't care about that one thing. And so why would you then post 5 more things about it? Because then you're just tanking your engagement. And
Uh-huh.
then it's really hard to get that engagement back afterwards.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to look at that. And just because you care about something doesn't mean that your followers care about something. You know, it's like you
Yes.
can't make social media is not about you. Don't
Nope.
make it about yourself. It's not about you. It's about your followers. And if they're not engaged in what you're talking about, then you're not talking
Stop
about the right
talking
thing.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like I think that's the hardest thing is like to remove your ego from it. Like, yeah, I have something I want to say, right? Like I want to get Ask Your Wife out there. You want to get sourdough out there, but like, how are we doing it? How, like, what is the problem that our audience is trying to solve in their life? And like, I think I loved it from my friend Candace who messaged me today. She's like, thank you so much for sharing this. I've been scared to start. So instead of just like all of these women out here are just like, here's a sourdough recipe, here's the 300 steps to sourdough, here's the like 27 million ways you need to keep your starter alive. They're scaring her out of the entire process, right? But she like took one look at I forgot what post I shared, it's maybe like 10 or 15 posts down, but it's like, hi, I'm Emily. These are the things that I believe are your core values. She was like, this is brilliant. I love this. And she's like, this makes me not scared of sourdough. Like within 2 seconds, I was like, aha. It's like, that's who exactly your audience is, the people that are like, have been scared to start, and you're just making it more accessible. So if that's the lane you show up in. Now, if you jump out of that and say like, okay, you guys, actually I've changed my mind and there's like 12 million steps to sourdough and this is how you do it, you're going to lose. I guarantee you'd lose your entire audience, right? So like,
Yeah.
and that level of like detail and understanding, like, customer behavior, potential customer behavior, I don't think most people who are
You
like,
have to like really niche down and
yeah,
understand who your customer is. If you're going on Instagram or really any of the platforms and you're like, today I'm going to talk about food, and then tomorrow I'm going to talk about like parenthood, and then tomorrow I'm going to talk about this. Like, because they see some of the really, really huge lifestyle bloggers that they can talk about anything because they already have this
yes,
following that is like attached to them, right? But at the very beginning, you need to niche down. You cannot just talk about everything under the sun and
yeah,
then expect people to like care. You
mm-hmm,
know, they're following you for a specific reason. And
mm-hmm.
if the Instagram algorithm or any of the algorithms can't figure out what the heck your account is about, they're not going to push it out to more people, or the right people, because they're like, well, maybe she's like a fashion blogger, so I'll start pushing this out to people that care about fashion. It's like,
Uh-huh.
no, I was actually trying to teach you how to make bread, or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. But you really have to niche down. You can't talk about everything. If you want to talk about everything, you're just not going to be successful at anything, really. You have to narrow down what it is you're talking about so the algorithm understands it, so they can push it out to the right people,
Mm-hmm.
and so that your followers understand why they're following you
Right.
and how you are going to help them. Because if you say you're going to help them with one thing and then you switch to a different topic, they're like, wait,
Much has
who are
happened.
you and why are you talking about this?
Yeah, I started listening to a podcast a long time ago. It's like like two girls and a mic, basically, like talking about like love, sex, dating, relationships, whatever. Probably a year and a half ago, they shifted their format to like really like very strictly topical, very strictly interview based kind of thing. To, I swear on all that's holy, like 45 minutes of banter about what's going on in Bravo land right now. So like, I know more about the like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City through listening to their podcast than I ever care to. And then I finally get done like their 45 minutes of interview, and I find myself like turning on their podcast and like not listening to it until we get to the interview. Like I'll put it on in the morning and like take a shower and make breakfast and like, like all these other things. And I'm like, and there's like a little sound they make when they're like, and we're going to introduce blah, blah, blah. And so I listen for that. And I'm like, now I'm paying attention. So like, yeah, you might've gotten some like advertising revenue for those first 45 minutes, but it wasn't a quality audience. It wasn't an engaged audience because I don't care about it. But like any ad that you're playing in the next 45 minutes is most useful to me. But advertisers pay premium space for the top of the podcast. But I'm like, I just want to talk to them and be like, ladies, you're killing me. Like, just stop. Like, I want to see what their like listener rate, like drop off looks like for real, because I don't think it's good in the last year and a half, because I know what my behavior is, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I know a whole bunch of my friends who've like just stopped listening altogether because like, I can't suffer through the first 45 minutes. So like, yeah, it's fascinating. I'm interested to see how it goes for them. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you really do have to narrow down. I mean, you can start trying to, like, you have your bubble that is like what you talk about, right? So,
Yep.
like, for me, it's sourdough. Like, I can start to talk about, maybe I'll do like yeasted breads, and that kind of
Yeah.
like branches out just a little bit, but
Sure.
it still has something in common. So, like, you can branch out a little bit, but you need to make sure the core of like what your niche is at the center of that. And that's the predominantly you're talking about. And if you want to talk about skincare or
Sure.
your favorite outfit or whatever, do that in your Instagram stories, but
Mm.
not in your posts or like any of
Yeah.
the platforms. You
Yeah.
can talk about some of those other things that maybe you're also passionate about, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in your feed.
Right.
That's what stories are for. That's the way they can connect with you further
Hmm.
to get to know you more without it being like a permanent spot on your page.
Totally. Yeah. Like I love using stories as like behind the scenes. So like you
Yes.
usually see stories for Ask Your Wife on Saturdays. It's just like in this room. People are very familiar with this room. And just like, yay, we're eating tacos today. Yay. We have one taco shop that we go eat at every recording day for lunch because it's predictable. We order the same thing and it takes exactly half an hour. Like we love a system. That's a Holland thing. So like people will see like on a Saturday morning, hey, we're here. Hey, we're recording. Hey, we're eating tacos. Hey, we're driving around the heights. Like, hey, we're back in the recording studio. But like that's you'll never find that in a post. You'll never find that as like our in an email. You never find it on LinkedIn. Like, yeah, it's fascinating. Like you just really making sure that you understand your core messaging and that it's resonating with your audience. And like if you want to experiment with some stuff, cool, experiment with it, but understand that it's peripheral. It should only take about 10 to 15% of your time and energy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. So what like talk to me about like what are your revenue streams? Like what are you how are you really making your money? Are you making money off selling bread? That's what I want to know.
I actually don't even, well, I can't say I don't sell bread at all, but my business has never been like a micro bakery. So
Mm,
I sell like 4 to 5 loaves a week. I'm not going to be
4 or 5
selling any
loaves a
longer
week?
now that we're moving, but
Wow.
I reached out to a shop that is right down the street from me. They do cheeses. And she was like, hey, I would actually love to have some sourdough bread in there. So like
Mm,
once a week, I take in like 4 or 5 loaves, and that's
mhm.
all I do. So that is a very, very minimal amount of revenue
Sure.
compared to like my other streams. So that's just something like a fun side thing, just to get my name out there for people for like my classes. But
Mhm.
that's not really where I ever wanted to spend my time. That's not really my passion. I love to just make bread for myself, my friends, my family, but it was never like the intention of going in to sell bread,
Let's make 400
making
loaves in a day
tons
or
of loaves.
something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
For
Okay.
a summer or two ago, I can't remember when it was, but I took like 16 loaves a week to a produce stand, and it was like so much work. I have a tiny kitchen. It was just exhausting, and it wasn't where my passion was.
No, okay.
So the main sources of income are, number one, are my digital products. So once I started getting a following, I was like, hey, I should start doing maybe like an online class. So the first time I did it, it was just like a Zoom class. Terrible lighting. After I watched it, I noticed like it was shaky. The video was shaky.
Oh
I
no.
mean, it wasn't like top notch. This is what I'm talking about, just starting. And the people
Mhm.
were like happy, they were content, nobody like complained or anything, but it wasn't up to the standard I was wanting. But I did it anyways. I did it with what I had, and that's, I feel like, the key is you just keep going forward. So that was the first thing I did. After that, then I sold like a pre-recording of that, and then after a while, and I was getting more interest and my following was growing, I was like, you know what, I need to sit down. I need to film like a quality class.
Great.
And don't worry, I gave all the original people got like the new recording of the class. But so I started I got like on a platform, I filmed something, put that together. Then later on, I was like, you know what? I think I should start an ebook just in case
Mm,
people aren't ready to have like they don't want to pay for the class. Okay,
sure.
then they have like a downgrade option they could do is just get the ebook. So then I was like, I'm going to put together this ebook. I made it in Canva. Canva is my best friend.
Yay.
And then I put together that ebook and started selling that. So those are my digital products that I have. I have a something else in the works. I'm not quite ready to share about it yet, but
Mm.
something else coming
Okay,
in Q4 of this year.
when you're ready to
Um,
announce, we'll bring you back. We'll
yeah,
have a Christmas set. I want to like overnight a loaf of your sourdough bread to me. I'll sit here and eat it while you tell us what you're doing.
yeah. So that is a part of my revenue is from my digital products. So my online class, my ebook, and
Mhm.
then the thing coming soon.
Okay.
And then I also have my in-person classes. So I do those I don't know, every other month or so, just depending when I'm
Mhm.
feeling it, I'll
Sure.
put a class out there. And so I also make money from my in-person classes teaching sourdough. And then affiliates is a really big one for me. So I am an Amazon affiliate. And so I share a lot of things on there. If you have a small business and you are an affiliate, I highly, highly recommend
Okay.
URL Genius. It is deep linking.
Oh.
So what happens is instead of just linking, so for instance, if somebody shares an Amazon link, they click it, it then will take them to the web browser where you're typically not logged into your Amazon.
Mhm.
So from that point, you're like, I don't know my login information. Do you know your login information for Amazon? Like
No.
most people do not know it. So then the purchase never happens. But
Interesting.
with deep linking, what happens is they click on it, it opens them up into the app. So then
Yeah.
they're already in their app. They already have
That's
whatever
so
else they
much
have in their
better.
cart. And then
Mhm.
I get commission off what they purchased from me plus anything else that they had in their cart at the time.
Great.
So deep linking has substantially increased my affiliate revenue. So if that's something that you're interested in, or like anyone listening, that's
URL
been
Genius, is
very,
that what you said?
very good. Yeah, you're all genius.
Great. Yeah, because I find that all the time is like I'll click on something and then I can't log in. And so then I'll personally open my app and go search for it. But I'm sure at that point
Yep.
you've lost credit for it, right?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
geez. Okay.
So
Interesting.
that has been a big one for me. And then I also have a lot of like small businesses that I have affiliates with as well. So just like brands I already use and love, oftentimes you can just go and ask them, like, hey, do you have an affiliate program? And a lot of times they do. They'll give you like 10% off for
Great.
your followers, usually like a coupon, and then you get a cut as well. So I have a lot of different brands that I work with that I love the products. And so I share those as well.
That's
I think
awesome.
one of the big things before I move on to well, actually, I'll finish the revenue streams and then I'll talk about this. The other one is partnerships. So paid sponsorships with brands.
Okay.
So getting together like a media kit of like, hey,
Mhm.
this is my audience and this is what they're about, what they love, and here's kind of why you should work with me. So putting that together to work with different brands, and that's something that I've just started kind of dabbling in, and I have that in my plan for the remainder of the year to start reaching out to more brands to work with them
Great.
on those types of things. So those are my main ones. So I have digital products, affiliates, and paid sponsorships. And then and in-person classes. And then you have like sometimes Instagram will have like real bonuses. So you can get bonuses from Instagram or TikTok.
Sure.
So there's some other like little things, but those are my biggest
Mm.
sources of income.
So how did you learn how to do this? Like how do you like building a media kit, building a like marketing plan, keeping all these things straight? Like what's like I know you
Well,
went to school for marketing. I've worked with you, but let's like tell people what's going
yeah,
on.
so some of it I had learned just from working on just working in marketing before. Some of that I knew as far as like how to put together a marketing plan and my calendar and all of those things, which I'm going to be honest, a lot of times I don't even calendar because I'm like so behind on everything. So like everything I learned in marketing just out the window and I'm like winging it a lot of the times. But
On some level, and this drives Holland crazy, and she's on, and I know she's gonna laugh at this, but like for when you've worked in it for so long, it becomes second nature. So I'm like, I
yeah,
can like look at our messaging and like understand our audience and just like, yeah, this is what we're doing for the next month. And she's like, but how do you know that? I'm like, if you make me slow down to tell you, it's gonna take more time. So just let me do the thing. Like you
yeah,
own production, I own marketing, and just trust me. Like,
yes.
so yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, so a lot of that. And then the things I didn't know, okay, like nobody tells you and nobody wants to tell you how much to charge brands for
Yeah.
sponsorships. You know, it's
Interesting.
like nobody's divulging that information.
Mhm.
So that's just something I've just started. I just give them a price, see how that goes. If they accept it quickly, it's like, well, now I know
You should
I
double it
can go
next
up
time.
some, and I just keep creeping up a little bit more
Mhm.
until it's like they want to start negotiating. And that's like, okay, I've kind of hit a sweet spot where I
Mhm.
know that's about where I need to be. So some of those things are just going to be trial and error.
Yeah.
Um, YouTube has a lot of free information out there. I've also taken like a few classes to help me with like blogging. You have to invest in yourself. You have to be
Mhm.
willing. You have to treat it like a business. So businesses have expenses, and having your social media, I mean, that's free. So
Yeah.
you can use some of those resources to pay for the classes. You can find a lot of the information for free if you're willing to really dig, or you can just go to an expert and they'll just lay it out for you. So that's a lot of the things and then some things I just figure out along the way. You just trial and error and see
Mhm.
what happens and just keep going, and you'll
Yeah.
learn as you go.
Well, and that's two things that like we know intrinsically is one, YouTube is my favorite university. It's free. It's out there. You might have to like sort through some like crap. Like there's some people out there
Yeah.
who like put YouTube videos that are just like long pitches, like, oh, I'm gonna make you buy this like $3,000 course. I'm like, you don't need to do that. Like just go see if you can find other things. And then the second one is like you can't break it. This is what I tell people about social media all the time. Just start experimenting. Just start with what you have, try and see how it goes. And then if that's not working, it's going to tell you quickly it's not working. So just don't abandon it, but just pivot a little bit and see like,
Mhm.
all right, if not this, then that. If not this, then that. Like my favorite thing was like consuming people that are in the same space. Like, okay, go pay attention to what's out there. This is the number one thing that like while you and I overlapped at work, my only job was to like go follow all of the beauty companies and all the beauty influencers in the world. It was a lot. My Instagram is still kind of messed up from that.
Yeah.
It's like that. I know exactly what Haley Bieber is doing every moment of every day because of my Instagram right now. But like, but just waking up every morning and just like being in that world is so fascinating. Like,
And
just
being intentional with that.
yes,
We're not
totally.
just scrolling to scroll, we're scrolling with intention
Yeah,
of looking for inspiration. And I think honestly, like it is important to follow the other, like for me, it's important to follow other sourdough accounts to
sure.
see what's working for them. And I'll look at some of the ones that have really high engagement and I'll look back and see like, okay, what posts are working for them?
Yeah.
And but not copying it. Then you go and say, okay, how can I make this my own?
Yeah.
But I've also found just find people that are successful in other spaces. So I will
Mm.
follow home decor sites
Ooh,
and
yeah.
some beauty people.
Hmm.
How are they engaging their audience, and how can I apply those things to me? Or what trends are working for them, and how can I apply that to me? So
Yeah.
it honestly feels even more original than if I was just doing exactly what everyone else in the sourdough space is doing. Because a lot of people, if you're interested in sourdough, you're following a lot of sourdough accounts, right? So
Sure.
if you're seeing something, it's like, oh, and they talked about it too, and they talked about it too, it can get a little bit repetitive
Sure.
and it doesn't make you stand out. But if you're getting inspiration from multiple different sources
Yeah.
of your outside of your niche,
Hmm.
then that can also help you to just get that inspiration and it feels more fresh and new.
Totally. My favorite people to follow for things like this are like beverage companies and like people that are doing really interesting things in terms of like how to place a product, how to talk about a product, how like to deal with holidays. Like go
Mhm.
far and wide outside your niche to find like what are the coolest people with the biggest creative departments and the biggest R&D doing, and then bring that in house and say, okay, but how do I make it my brand? Because you should know who you are, you should know who your audience is and what they're going to resonate with. But like, how do I bring that style in there? That helps us stand out more than anything else. Like,
Yeah. And
really.
that's so important. You have to know who your followers are, because just because something went viral on somebody else's doesn't mean it's going to go viral for you,
Right.
because if you have completely different followers,
Yeah.
they're not going to engage with maybe that type of thing. Like I know for me, I'm not going to like use trending audio that is like rap songs, right? Like
Yeah,
that
it's not your
my
people.
audience is not listening to rap music. Okay. That is not like on brand for me. So like it doesn't make sense for me to do like a dancing rap video. Okay. Like just because
Although
something is
I wanted
viral,
by the end of the year, Emily, a dancing rap video from you.
it will be like when Taylor Swift did that rap song back in the day, you know.
You're like, okay, that was an experiment.
That'll be me.
Perfect. Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Well, so what, like, if there's like kind of one other than like Holland's note over here where she's like, treat it like a business. What is there any other like, I don't know, advice you'd give to people who are maybe in corporate America and like maybe looking to start their own thing, they want more flexibility. Like what's our exit strategy here?
Number one is first is you have to figure out what it is you want to do.
Mm,
You have to like really figure out like what are you passionate about and how can you stand out. So like if you want to go into sourdough right now, you might think like, well, there's a million people doing sourdough right now. Like, how am I going to start a sourdough business? And this can be applicable to any niche.
yeah.
It's like, but how are you going to break through? I always think of I think his Instagram is Hercules Noble Food. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Oh
him. He does
no.
a series called Will It Sourdough. So
Okay.
basically, he got huge from doing this Will It Sourdough series. So basically, he just takes the most random flavors and throws them into sourdough and like sees what happens.
That's amazing.
So
Okay.
he started like growing this huge following from doing this Will It Sourdough series. So even though there was a million people doing sourdough, he was able to cut through that noise with something that was very different.
That's
So
awesome.
you have to find a way to like, how are you going to stand out? You can't just copy everyone else's strategies and expect to grow. You have to figure out what is your unique take on this and how can I kind of like be a knife through all that noise, kind of cut through all that noise
Yeah.
and bridge, come through with your own take on things. So that would be my first thing. And then you just start. You just go and do. And you don't have to have the fancy equipment like we talked about. You don't have to know everything from the beginning. You don't even have to be a marketing major. You don't have to
Yeah.
like have a background in this, right? Like you just go and do. I will say a lot of the things I've learned over the last year with my business didn't come from my marketing degree. It just came from doing this, just going
Mm.
and doing and figuring out as I go. I didn't really know what I was doing when I started my email list. Sometimes I still don't know what I'm doing with things, right? But I just go and I do it and keep going with it.
Mm.
So that is, don't wait until everything is perfect to start.
Yay, I love that. Like that's what we found with Ask Your Wife women is like intelligent women just need to be pointed in the right direction and they will figure it out. Like that's it. Like here's kind of the ballpark, go forth and do what you want. But you have to know what you want and then understand like there are steps, but like you can't fail at it. So just keep going. So
Yeah. And
uh,
then commit to yourself. Like if you're going to
mm,
do this, do it. Don't be wishy-washy about it. Don't be like nervous that, not everyone's going to like you or your friends are going to think you're stupid for doing this, right? You just commit to do it. You make a plan and you execute it. And you don't
mm,
worry about whether at the beginning you're getting 3 likes or 100 likes. You're not going to stress about that. You're just going to keep pushing forward and you're going to give yourself at least a year of this, right? You're going to keep committing to it and see what happens for the long haul. You're in it for the long haul and you're going to do whatever it takes to succeed.
mic drop. Done. I love it. Oh, Emily, I love you. Thank you so much.
I love you.
Tell us where we can find you.
Okay, so I have a website with all of my recipes that I share at countryroadsourdough.com.
Okay.
If you're interested in my class or my ebook, you can find it there, or you can also go to learn.countryroadsourdough.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You can find me on all those just at Country Roads Sourdough.
Okay, perfect. You're the best. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you. Good talking with you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.